Hey, it's me, MLB. Here's chapter 95 of Rapid Fate Online, and this one's titled Tamajiki Under Attack. As you ran, your leg caught on Tamaki's, and you tripped alongside him, but just before you hit the ground, a soft wing caught you and pulled you into Tamaki's side, holding you as you rolled to the bottom of the hill. Once you'd both stopped rolling, you pulled back and looked at him, then looked at the wings. I used my quirk. I had chicken last night. Look, wings, he said, opening his wings from around you and flapping them while he lay on his back on the ground. You smiled down at him lovingly. Why am I chasing a butterfly when I have my own Tamaki butterfly right here? Gently you dropped your head down to his and rubbed your nose on his. Unfortunately, the bell rang for next class right then, so you had to get up and go, the little blue butterfly flitting its way to another flower, none the wiser to the two people who had been chasing it. That evening you went home with Tamaki, and you both lay down on his bed to dive together. Being that you were both diving in your new avatars, you'd be inside your house on level 44, and he would be with Praetorian in his house. I'll ask him if I can bring you to meet him. He might have a job for you, Tamaki said as he lay beside you on the bed. Just stay in our house, and I'll come and get you. Okay, you said with a head nod. I'm just happy to be not under Master's control. I agree, Tamaki nodded. You held hands and called Link Start at the same time, then dove together, going in-game to your respective places. Slowly your eyes opened and you smiled at your on-avatar that was lying on the bed beside you in your house on 44. Then you turned your head the other way and smiled at Butterfly's sleeping avatar before you got up and headed out to the kitchen. You had just gotten yourself a glass of water to replenish your health when you heard the telltale screech of a pterodactyl outside, and you looked out, just in time to see the giant pterosaur gliding silently through the fog that hung around the floating islands nearby. Ugh, it's just as terrifying as ever, you thought as you watched the giant creature disappear off into the unknown. I don't know what it is about that pterodactyl in particular, but it just seems bigger and creepier than the rest. Tamajiki woke in the spare room of Praetorian's house, and sat up then got off the bed to see if his guardian was there. As expected, Praetorian was in the garden practicing some of his moves, and Tamajiki watched from the window. He definitely looks like he knows what he's doing. He watched a little longer, and then stepped out and made his presence known. Praetorian smiled when he saw his contractee, and wiped some of the sweat from his brow. Did all go well with your friend yesterday? He asked. Tamajiki nodded. I'm glad, Praetorian replied. Where are they now? She is waiting for me. I told her that you may be able to give her a job with you. As you can understand, she's a little hesitant to contract to just anyone in case the same thing happens again. That's understandable, Praetorian replied. Bring her here. I may just have a job for her. Tamajiki smiled and nodded. Would you mind if I left to get her now? Go, Praetorian said. Is she on a lower level? Yes, Tamajiki lied. Good. I wouldn't want you getting into any trouble. You aren't a high enough level to be taking on anything above a level 2. Tamajiki nodded again and turned to leave. I'll be back soon. Contact me on chat if you need me, he replied. Tamajiki left the house and walked to the teleport pad, looking around before calling for level 44. Arriving on his home level, he stepped off and raised a hand to shield his eyes from the sun that was shining brightly down on the floating islands and the intricate vine systems that linked them. Now to get yin and come back. He started off down the track, picking his way to the house. As he climbed the rope ladder to the first island, he heard the shrill cry of the pterodactyl that seemed to have some kind of inbuilt patrol encoding. Most of the other creatures on that level didn't have any particular predictable movement patterns, but this large pterosaur seemed to have a set flying pattern and would be seen patrolling the level at certain times in the day. It was one of the more fierce creatures on this level, and it was best to avoid it, if possible. Tamajiki looked at the in-game clock as he got up onto the first floating island and his heart sank. Oh no. This time is when the pterodactyl flies close to the entrance of this level, and these islands are in its path. He heard the screech again and looked around, peering into the fog that was hanging low. Ahead, he heard the heavy beating wings and got down low on the ground. If this pterodactyl saw him, it was liable to target lock, and that would be bad. He didn't have any weapons to fend it off, and even in his butterfly form he found it hard to fight this pterosaur in particular. Keeping as still as possible, he waited, the sound of this giant creature approaching getting louder and louder. Suddenly it appeared directly over him and screeched as it tore low overhead, mere meters above him. He grabbed for his mouth so he could swallow his scream and keep still, his poor heart smacking the ground ferociously from within his chest as he waited for the fearsome creature to move on. He was just about to sit up when he heard it screech loudly again and turn around. Oh no, it saw me. It saw me. He got up and ran to the edge of the floating island and jumped down onto a smaller floating rock. Then, using the suspended rocks, jumped across them till he got to the next large island. He had only just landed on the next island when the first island that he had been laying on shuddered and parts exploded off the side of it as the pterodactyl attacked it. It's after me. He panicked and ran, crawling down the vines to get to the bottom level so that he could run through the denser bushland before starting the next climb to the house. Oh, this next chapter is going to be an action-packed one. Stay tuned for that one. 96 coming tomorrow.